Thank you all for joining us today. We really appreciate it. I want to thank all of our employees for being here, all the Parts Life family, all of our DeVal colleagues that are here today, all of our special guests that are here today, and every guest is special. So thank you all for being here. We really do appreciate it. Special welcome to Danny Lynn and Sam and all of your friends that are here today. That's wonderful. We have many government partners here today, which is great. Assemblywoman Carol Murphy, thank you for joining us today. From Congressman Conway's office, Milana Homan Hepner and Seth Levin, as well as Ben Giovine from Senator Kim's office. So thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. We have many of our education partners, our training partners, RCBC, Drexel University, DBRC, Burlington County Regional Chamber of Commerce, and many others. So thank you all for being here. We do appreciate it. All of our business partners and our Department of War and our Defense Industrial Base partners. Thank you for being here with us as well. General Hamilton, Admiral Ott, Captain Christian, Senior Master Sergeant Bender, Mr. Apollo, right here. I knew I saw you somewhere. So there we go. Great. And all of our veterans, they're here, both employees and outside guests. We do appreciate your service. Thank you very much.
Well, good morning. Welcome. I'm Gregg Mallinder, president of Parts Life, and Pastor Paul, I am confident the Lord does have greater things in store for Parts Life. I really am. It's a blessing to be here today. It's an exciting time to be here today. We're here to dedicate a new building, but hopefully today, and I think you will see today through the events this morning, the facility tours, it is a great building. It's an awesome building. Even more, we have awesome people. Our people are really incredible, and people that have a calling. So hopefully, our invited guests, you'll see that today. So Sam, our owner and leader, said our team's ability to design, manufacture, and deliver is more critical than ever. It's our, keep in mind these three words: capability, capacity, and competence, that inspire confidence in those who depend on us. What we build is not just equipment. It's an extension of mission readiness and a strategic advantage. So at the most visible level, this is a beautiful building. And what it offers us, gives us more space. We're able to consolidate some buildings. We have a bigger parking lot. We have more bathrooms. More conference rooms, more desk space. We have a great area right here that we're calling a think tank area, where you can see we want to encourage people to get together to collaborate, work together, have a space that we can learn and grow together. But maybe you're looking, maybe here going, okay, that's all well and good. What does it mean to me? Okay. And I'll sum it up in one statement. 1260 Glen Avenue strengthens those three C's again, strengthens our capabilities, expands our capacity, and sharpens our competencies, enabling us to better serve the warfighter, the taxpayer, in a responsible, ethical way with excellence in a way that glorifies God. And you'll see that's part of our vision. But just as building a nice new stadium doesn't produce a Super Bowl champion, okay, there's a lot more than just a building, right? The people and what goes on inside the building. So today, this building and the investment that Sam has placed in it does place a responsibility on us. And I want to talk a little bit about that today. I want to talk about three things. So if we get three takeaways from the next few minutes. How did we get here? Why are we here? And what's our response? So how did we get here? Well, let's start with Sam. An incredible man of vision, of passion, of placing his trust in the Lord, a belief that he has a calling, belief that he has a purpose in this life, and part of that is in the workplace. And you're going to hear a lot about that more later from Sam. And of course, Danny Lynn, right by his side, years of support, patience, compassion, encouragement, and of course every member of the family, Micah, Nick, Dylan, Maya, Savvy. They have been through this journey with Sam. It is with heartfelt thanks and gratification to you for helping us to get here. Wisdom and guidance from friends, many of which are here. Many that Sam and the family has relied upon over the years to consult, talk things over, get ideas. Those people are to thank. We have some suppliers here, many trusted suppliers that the business has worked with over the years. Through the good times, through the tough times, have stuck with the company. And we want to say thank you to them. Of course, the dedicated employees, as you look around here. We would not be here with the opportunity and the ability to get a new building without years and years of dedication, high performance, a pursuit of quality, excellence. Those are not just words on a plaque on the walls around here. I can honestly say every employee, that's in their heart. They're living that each and every day over many, many years. How many here were here 10 years ago? Raise your hand if you're here 10 years ago. Okay, not that many. Okay, everybody now that's an employee, raise your hand. Okay, look at that. Look what happened over 10 years. Okay, and some of you that were here 10 years ago, and 7 years ago, and 5 years ago, we're here because of your work. So thank you. Dominic, where's Dominic? Is looking for a building and negotiations and working with people and getting people out of the last building and that, you name it, and getting us a contract for this building. Tremendous effort. Thank you. Chris Fest, designing and getting together what's this building going to look like and working with contractors. Tom McGonigal, where's Tom and his team of work. There's been so much work, night and day, endless list, hundreds of items long. Kenny, Ruben, Chevy, some of these guys have just been here through the weekends working. We want to say thank you. David and the IT team to get this place up and running. We were across the street over there and up and running for the most part on that Monday. And many of the contractors and suppliers that are even here today. Thank you. They worked at night over the weekends, getting things done, up to the heating units on the roof during the freezing cold. So thank you. And, of course, the grace and direction of our Lord and Savior Jesus would not be here without that. So the first question, the thing to remember how we got here. So we have a lot of people to thank. Why are we here? Of course, I'm going to talk about our mission and vision, which we shall all be able to recite. Mission, supporting freedom by serving the warfighter and the U.S. taxpayer in a way that glorifies God. And you'll see that mission statement everywhere. Vision, rare vision statement, transforming lives by creating work in an environment where people can achieve their God-given potential. Wow. How about that for a vision statement? So these will remain our cornerstones, and they call us to a higher purpose. They do, beyond just growth and profitability. Scripture reminds us to work heartily as unto the Lord. So as leaders, we carry the responsibility, and as people of Parts Life, together we carry a responsibility to make this a place where all of us can achieve our God-given potential. So a little bit about where we're going. We are going to be the premier reverse engineering and prototyping supplier to the DoW. Okay? We are going to be the go-to service parts provider, whether it's reverse engineering and manufacturing, remanufacturing, repairing, you name it. Okay? We will be that. Someday, there will be many 1260 Glen Avenues in the future. We are going to have, we've already had several building dedications. We're going to have many to come. We're going to have other buildings throughout New Jersey and Philadelphia area, throughout the United States and globally. So buckle up. And we are going to be a place where our children are going to want to come work, and our children's children are going to say, you know what, I want to work at Parts Life someday. So with all that, what is our response? What is our response? I'm going to talk a little bit about stewardship. So the Bible reminds us to whom much is given, much is required. So we've been entrusted with a lot. People, resources, So what are we going to be a good steward of? First, I'll say we're going to be a good steward of our culture. Our jet ski culture. So what are the 3 words? Come on, Parts Life employees. 3 words for jet ski. Fast, flexible, and fun. All right. So that is something that we, all of us, have to be a steward of. Okay. Fast, flexible, and fun. We have to be stewards of our talents and our gifts that we've been blessed with. And I've talked before, each one of us has a unique gift and unique talents. And we're not to compare with each other. There's a reference in the Bible about the body of Christ, and I'll probably get it out of order, Pastor Fall, but forgive me. The eye can't say to the nose, "I don't need you," or the hand can't say that. That the body of Christ. Everybody has a different role, a different function. We're called to work together, and everybody here has a different role, not to be compared to somebody else. Let's understand what our gift and talent and purpose is, and let's work hard to fulfill that. We have to be a good steward of that. And let's be a good steward of our calling, of that purpose that God has called each of us to. My pastor at Keystone, Pastor Mark, I love this. He has a message that says, God does extraordinary things through ordinary people who just say yes. Do just say yes to God. So we are ordinary people, bunch of ordinary people. We are going to be doing extraordinary things. And part of that is by just saying yes to God and whatever God has in store. So lastly, let's talk about the people. People is what makes Parts Life. And as we dedicate this building today, what does that mean to our people? What we want it to be. Our desire is going to be a safe, pleasant environment. People want to come here and want to come here to work. Many are going to be spending more hours here awake than at home with family. So we want it to be an environment that nurtures growth and development, both professionally and personally. A place that nurtures creativity and innovation. That's welcoming to customers and suppliers and partners to come in and to talk and to dialogue and be creative. Think about what we're going to do. And as in our vision, a place for people to reach their God-given potential. So I'll end in saying Sam's willingness to invest in 1260 sends a pretty vivid message. It is a proclamation that people matter. All of us here matter. Purpose matters. And we are all valued here. So thank you, Sam. But it is a charge to all of us now. Thinking about what got us here, who got us here, how we got here, why we're here, and our response to be good stewards of this culture, our talents, the resources that we've been given, and our calling to achieve not only the Parts Life mission and vision, but everybody here has their own unique mission and vision for their own lives. So as I invite Sam up, thank you, and let's forge ahead and achieve that mission and vision that God has called us to do.
The mayor of Philadelphia visited our other facility about 60 days ago, and we were talking about cleaning up the city. And the thing I said to her was that before you can transform a people, you need to transform a place. It takes a place in order to transform a people. And when I said that, that was the first time I had said that, the first time I had actually articulated that. But as I thought further about it after I did talk to her, I realized that is exactly what God did. You know, He created the Garden of Eden before He put Adam and Eve in there. It's very interesting. And so what I will say about this building is it's a place for us to be able to transform people. And we needed a place, a better place, in order to be able to do that. And if you think about it, we are all made in the image of God. There is no more qualification and there is no less qualification than that we are all made in the image of God. And my personal mission statement is to create an environment where others can achieve their God-given potential. So if you think about it, purpose and potential is God's responsibility. When He created us, He created every one of us uniquely, and He created us with purpose, and He created us with potential. My responsibility is to create that environment so others can come and plug in as a way to be able to grow and develop into everything that God has called them to be. I was reading a book recently, actually last week. It's one of the first books that I actually finished reading. It was actually published in 1987. And it talked about the fact that there was a lot of tribal stories that were told that was stopped being told because of the invention of the light bulb. Never thought about that. But if you think about it, a lot of the tribes, they would sit by a fireplace and they would tell stories with each other. But when the light bulb was invented, the stories started to stop. It started to diminish. And it's true, and I have experienced that because I spent a couple of days in Masai Mara in Kenya with the Masai people. And that's the way that they are able to talk about culture, is by telling stories. And the caves and the huts that they live in are extremely dark. So it's very difficult, really, to even be able to see each other. There's a story in the Bible where Jacob was supposed to marry Rachel, and the father-in-law did a switcheroo, Pastor Doyle, and ended up marrying the older sister. And you would think, like, how does that happen? Right? How does that happen? It happens because without electricity, you can't necessarily see each other. You don't even know who you're sleeping with. You guys thought you came to a dedication and you're hearing about who's sleeping with who. I want to tell you 3 quick stories that help define my journey. I came to this country in 1985, summer. A week later, my mother actually took a job in the country of Oman as a way to teach English to young girls in Oman. She was teaching English as a second language. And the reason she had to do that was the family did not have enough money in order for me to come to the U.S. It was a very difficult time for my mother. At 48 years old, she was a general's wife. She had the ability to be driven around with a driver. She had help at the house, but had to go and live in the country of Oman all by herself, away from her husband, away from her children. Very difficult time. She cried a lot, wrote to me very regularly, and talked about the difficult time that she was going through. She ended up having to take a roommate. A roommate who didn't even know exactly how to use a bathroom. The roommate actually was using the sink in the room to wash her feet. I tell you that not to gross you out, but to let you know that that was the difficulty that my mother went through in order for me to be able to be here. And as I think about that, Mahatma Gandhi said something very interesting. He said, there is no worship without sacrifice. There is no worship without sacrifice. So as I stand before you, having accomplished quite a bit, I cannot but forget the sacrifice that my mother made. As I stand before you today, this company and what we have done here, we have in all 5 domains of the U.S. military: air, land, sea, undersea, and space. And part of the reason why Mr. Ed Apollo is here, he has just retired from being the program manager on the F-35. It's probably the most, not probably, it is the number one weapon system known to mankind, right? All of these things have been accomplished because of the sacrifice that my mother was willing to make, having to go out and be able to do what she did so that I am able to stand in front of you today. So I stand here extremely grateful for my mom. The second story that I would like to tell you is in 2007, when I decided to go into full-time working at Parts Life, I went to my wife and I said, honey, I think it's time for me to start my own company. And she said, I support you fully with one condition. The condition was that we sold the home that we were living in. And I said to her, no, we don't need to do that. I serve a big God. I had gone to Oral Roberts University. I'd learned about faith. And my faith said I could do both these things. I could start this company, Pastor Jose, as well as continue to keep the home. We went back and forth for a bit. Eventually, she won out. We sold the home, moved into an apartment for a couple of months until we found a smaller home, downsized, took the collateral and put it into the business, took out my 401k. Jay Bergman is here. While Jay and I are good friends, I don't necessarily account for a lot because I'm constantly taking money out of the 401k. He likes to spend time with people who are actually investing in the 401k. I am more known to be somebody who continues to take it out and pay penalties and taxes many years later and that kind of stuff. But what was my wife doing? She was actually limiting the liability that our family was going to go through. And I just want to thank her for the wisdom that she showed in order to be able to do that. And honey, you've been an extremely awesome partner to me. And also to my children. And it's very interesting about that house. It took us about 3 years for the business to actually start to turn. And during those 3 years was a very difficult time. But I kept wondering about this house that we had sold. And my wife would tell me, honey, stop talking about this house. It's only a house. Like, why are you still on this? But there was something that I just felt like it was not about the house. Because people who know me know that I could live in the middle of Hong Kong. So it was not about the house. But there was something else that continued to bother me. And right here on the fields in Cinnamons and Randy, where Nick and Dylan were playing at 2 different fields, God had given us a 5th mouth to feed in Savannah, Faith. We named her Faith because during that period, Matt, that's exactly what the Lord was teaching me. He was teaching me faith. You know, there's a song that we sing, you know, He's all I need. Jesus is all I need. It's one thing to actually sing it. It's another thing when you have to live it. And so my mind's eye went back to, Lord, why did we have to sell that house? Because I knew there was something else. And he has always been silent on that issue. This day, he put a thought into my mind. He said it was about the office in that home that we had. And I said, what about the office? He said, well, you had actually created that office as a way to be able to run your business. I had a 3-car garage. I had put, an ability to be able to store parts in it and stuff like that. So I was going to be a good steward through this home. And what the Lord said next was extremely incredible, which is when I realized that this was going to be something big. He said, I had more for you than a home-based office. And so what it took was for me to move into this small 200-square-foot office as a way to be able to think globally, to think outside the box, if you will, as a way to be able to make that next thing happen. And that's exactly what I did. I don't know whether Chris Oninos is here. I see Chris all the way in the back. I called Chris. He started to help give me some warehouse space, gave me the ability to do transportation. And today, Chris continues to work for us. His son, Nick, is doing a fantastic job as a capture manager. But I needed to understand God. It was not about the house, but I needed to understand his ways, and I needed to understand what it is that he was doing. And that's what he said. I had more for you, and there's nothing wrong with those of you who have a home-based business. But that's not what he had for me. And it was at that point that I recognized and understood where God was heading with this thing. That's story number 2. I have one more to tell. But before I start that, I just want to thank every one of you for being here, because it means a lot to me that you're here as we dedicate this building. So from me to you, thank you so much for being here. My third story is, until I was 22, I grew up from my father's house. He was an officer in the army. And one would say that he was probably a better officer than he was a father. As I had dinner with General Hamilton yesterday, he was talking about the fact that he would go to D.C. to see his family when he was working here in Philadelphia. And that was my father. He could never find his feet when he came home because he was home for a couple of days and he had to go back. It was a difficult thing for him to do. And so even when I was in trouble, I would always go and see him at work, because at work he could fix everything. But one of the amazing things about my father was growing up under his leadership and under his home, the thing that I observed the most was that he was a man who understood authority. He told people go, they went. We told people to come, they came. And it was something that I learned. And so not only did I observe that about my father, I also saw that in God. I understood where authority comes from. And as I stand before you today, one of my superpowers is that I understand authority. I understand where my help comes from. The Bible says, I lift up my eyes to the hills. My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. So as I stand before you today, like even with Pastor Paul has been my pastor for 30 years. I haven't always seen eye to eye with him, but I've always submitted to him as the person who had the authority. And I think that's important, the important lesson that my father taught me. One of my favorite scriptures is from Matthew chapter 8, where the centurion has a son or a daughter who's not well. He's a servant, not well. And he goes to Jesus and says, Master, my child is not well. But you don't have to come. All you have to do is to say the word, and my servant will be healed. And what Jesus was amazed about was the faith that this centurion or the general exhibited, because he said, because the centurion understood authority. And so I would like to leave that with you. Take sacrifice. With my wife's help, we limited liability, and we understand authority. And so there is no better person that, as I stand before you today, is our guest of honor, General Hamilton. I'm going to have him come here to speak. I'm going to read a small part of his bio because it is huge. If you think about a general, that's the ultimate authority under authority. I'm going to say that one more time. It's the ultimate authority under authority. And so as I recognize General Hamilton, I also recognize Matt Hart, who's a general in his own right, being a rear admiral. My buddy here, Dave Christian, who is partners with me in a business and one of the most decorated vets in the U.S. How many Purple Hearts? 7? 7 Purple Hearts. These are men who understand authority. Before I ask General Hamilton to come speak, I'm going to read his quick bio. General Hamilton is a former 4-star U.S. Army general who commanded one of the Army's largest organizations, the U.S. Army Materials Command. In that role, he led more than 190,000 military, civilian, and contractor personnel, managed a $50 billion global enterprise, and supported operations all across 50 states and over 150 countries. A career logistics officer, General Hamilton served 3 combat deployments in Afghanistan in support of Operations Enduring Freedom and held multiple senior assignments in the Pentagon, including on the Joint and Army staff. He retired after more than 40 years of distinguished service and was awarded the Distinguished Service Medal, one of Army's highest honors, along with the Bronze Star and Combat Action Badge. Today, General Hamilton serves on 3 boards of directors, is a strategic advisor to private equity-backed companies, and supports multiple firms pursuing opportunities with the U.S. Department of Defense. He is also a frequent guest speaker and national commentator, appearing on outlets including Fox News and BBC. One thing I forgot to mention about General Hamilton was when he was the deputy director of DLA here as a 1-star, about 7 years ago, he pinned my father-in-law, who was a Vietnam vet, for his service in Vietnam. Many of you know the Vietnam veterans never got a thank you from the American people. And my family was so endeared because that was a huge moment in my father-in-law's life. My father-in-law passed away a couple of months ago, about 90 days ago. And that was one of his biggest honors, to have been pinned by General Hamilton. So without further ado,
well, good morning. And how do you follow Sam? It's going to be tough. But, Sam made me think about something. I thought about it. I said, why am I coming? Hadn't been back to Philly in a few years. Hadn't seen many of you, in a few years. And not until he was talking about telling stories and what that means. And, and I kind of, read some things about, your great company and organization here, that I realized my purpose for being here. So I'm going to talk about a few things. I'm not going to be before you long, but I'm going to tell a story at the end of that, because I think it resonates, especially with this company. So I just want to say thanks to everybody. Great seeing you again. I mean, 7 Purple Hearts. No matter if it's 1 Purple Heart or 7, it's saying a lot about your service and conviction and what you went through personally. So that means a lot to me, having served downrange a few times and having seen, soldiers serve. Their heroic acts are beyond measure. And that's what I'm going to talk about, and how this great organization fits into that, and how it fits into national security as well. So I did make a few notes, and to Sam and, his beautiful bride, and the opportunity to pin his dad was a huge moment for me as well. Now, this thing started out very small, and it grew into something very large in Philadelphia. And I didn't personally realize the impact that it would have until that day, watching those vets come out of their cars to a red carpet, confetti, a band, and it was huge. I can see the emotion on their face, and I felt it once we were in the auditorium there. So, and I know your dad passed a few months ago, and just want to again thank you for his service, and it was a big deal to me too. I still treasure that. Now, Sam has a picture out there, and I was talking to Tom or somebody about it. One of the employees here, there's Tom. And I said, I hadn't seen that picture in years. One thing I realized, I was going bald really bad right here. But Tom, I wasn't ready to let go. And so I was going to convince Sam to get one of his AI guys, and get that filled in, or just take it all the way off. So anyway, just couldn't let it go. And the culture in this organization, I was reading some things a couple of days ago: dedication, innovation, and growth in support of the warfighter. And those aren't just words. And that's the story I'm going to talk about at the end. It's really important that family businesses like that. I got to spend time with a couple of the sons last night at dinner, and I can see 2 things. One, they're bought in. They're all in. They want to support. They understand the bigger picture. And even more importantly, I could see the pride on Dad's face as well. We were talking about football this morning, and I guess he had a couple of sons that played football. One was offensive captain, one was a defensive captain. And I know those stories. And people often ask me, they go, hey, what's the proudest thing? And they think I'm going to say something military. No, I'm proud of my children. I got 4 children. They're all paying taxes. And I call them children, which I know they're all adults, but they're still our children. And the one thing, I love about my kids, and I'm sure Sam does as well, is that we're close. They still call and ask for advice on things, which is okay. I'm not that dad, I'm not trying to run their daily lives in any way, but they call and ask because they grew up watching and paying attention. And they still think that, we're value added to their families as well. And that's what I see here, a lot of value added from a family perspective, not just the family who was in charge of the company, but as I was going around the room talking to folks, this is truly a family organization. Now, coming from 40 plus years of Army background, I could quickly assess a unit that I would walk into. Good to see you. Just recognize that, or good to see you. I could walk into a unit and I just walk around and talk to soldiers. And I've got an assessment in less than 5 minutes of that organization. It's either discipline or it's not. And that's how we measured it in military terms, right? And just walking in this organization, it wasn't about it being disciplined, undisciplined. It's just people were happy to work here because they respect the leadership, and it's a good place that's thriving. It's going to present opportunities over time. And that resonated with me because I have been to organizations where it's the opposite. And I'm thinking, why did they let me walk around this organization knowing that probably some bad things were going to be said to me? And I'm not going to name them. I almost did, but I'm not. But it's true. And look, Sam came in and he let me go. I got to freelance in Rome, and I heard nothing but good things. And also, before I go too far, I want to thank the color guard for just give them another big hand for really being a great job. Ed and I were talking about that, and they put a lot of time and dedication into, perfection. They just didn't get up this morning and practice real quick and run over here. That's weeks and months of practice, dedication before class, after class, and studying, They're all nodding like, yes, sir, we do that all the time. I know. And then the commander I talked to had a conversation. He wants to go to the Air Force Academy. So I guarantee you somebody here could help you with that. I'm looking at Ed. See, he's Air Force. I'm Army, but who knows? They might respect a letter from an old Army general. Who knows? So you never know. But last night we were talking at dinner about solving problems. And so I think that's a big part of what you guys do. You solve problems for the Department of War. It's a big problem. And as you know, the culture of procurement and the way we're doing business is changing. I'm an advocate, and I told Sam this last night that what's got to happen with the Department of War is that they got to start investing earlier in organizations, especially like this, okay? Because that way you can do more faster, because we're all about the speed and capacity. So that conversation is happening. I think once it becomes, the president works through a few other things, because he's brought it up before. And I think once he presses the organizations, I'm a believer, because I'm an advocate, others are advocates, that it's got to happen. Because we want the capacity. What we don't want is repeat World War II. It's taken 5 years to build up the defense industrial base. 5 years. Do you know what happened in those 5 years? A lot of people died because we didn't have the capacity to do what we needed to do. And that's why companies like Parts Life are so important. And that's why your vision of, growing in different states and globally is so important. What you're doing today, right now, is important, but to get it and even branch out, to build more capacity is equally as important. I love your servant leadership. Your video, your audio is all matching up. It's not just talk. You're actually walking that, and you're doing it, you're demonstrating it every day. And it resonates in everything I'm reading. And then just the short time I got to spend, this morning as well. I've talked to Sam a few times over the years. And the one thing that he always talks about is you. That's the one thing he always talks about, is this organization, the people in the organization, the opportunity to grow, where it started. And he's not doing it out of like pride for himself, because he's probably one of the most humble people that I know personally. He's just excited for you to have that opportunity and grow. So I did promise you a story at the end of this, so I'm going to tell it. And I think it's why you exist. I think it's your purpose. And I think it's bigger than all of us in the room. And I think part of it is you serve something bigger than yourself. It's bigger than a paycheck. It's bigger than this building. And one that is, you obviously serve God. But also, you serve the Department of War. You serve the national defense of this country. So back before Charles Hamilton became a general, he was a colonel. And he commanded a brigade in Afghanistan. And before I went on that deployment, I did a little studying like most commanders would do. We were coming out of Afghanistan. This was 2013, 14. And the last time the Russians came out, they went at units like mine pretty hard, because we were, retrograding equipment and moving stuff around. So I knew we were going to get hit hard. So I was getting my soldiers prepared the best I could. I even got extra medics from the Air Force. The Army ran out of medics, believe it or not. They hadn't deployed so much. On my own, went to the Air Force, and they gave me a platoon of medics to go with me, because I knew we were going to get hit hard. We were supporting the entire land across Afghanistan, every region. And one evening, we lost 2 soldiers on a convoy. And it was at what we call a blackout forward operating base. So no lights, had to carry in the dark, because it was just a dangerous environment. So Sergeant Major and I flew out there that night to talk to the soldiers. We landed, it was dark, no moonlight. And you couldn't even see maybe 5 feet in front of you. So they guided us over to the formation, and everybody was there. You could hear a few people crying in the formation, and very emotional time. And Sergeant Major and I talked to them, try to get them motivated, let them know they're going to be safe. We're going to fly some helos out in the morning, bring them back to the big fob, and then send some more soldiers out to continue that mission. So all good. So I said, anybody have any questions for me? No questions. So we're walking back. They're firing up the helicopter. And Sergeant Majors have special ears, because some kind of way he heard somebody say, "Sir, we want to go back out." I didn't hear it. So he stopped me. We turned around and went back to the formation. As we were approaching the formation, everyone was chanting, "We want to go back out." And I thought, what's inside of these young soldiers, 18, 19, early 20s, that would make them want to go back out into a known threat? That's almost insane. You just watch 2 people get blown up and killed in action, heroes. But you want to go back out. And not to this moment sitting here that I think about, that's why I came to talk to you today. Because that's why you exist. That's part of your purpose. It's because those young men and women need you to do what you do every day. Because without you, and I've said this since I've been in a position of authority, this goes back a few years, we can't do what we do unless we have a strong industrial base. And you're a big part of that. So for me personally, as I've said many times, to others, thank you for what you do. Because those young men and women are so resilient and so brave. It's no credit on my leadership or sorry, they're just built because they come from you. They come from your communities, your church's pastor, your schools, and then they show up in our formation. We give them a little training, they do a couple of things and all that. But all that's inside what they got from you. So again, thank you very much and look forward to seeing you throughout the day. Thanks.